And with that said, we should be live now, and that chat should be working. Hopefully. Unless, of course, it doesn't work. Aha! There it is. It is working. Excellent. So, how you guys doing today? I know it's Monday. This is usually not the best day of the week for anybody, but it is the day where I get to do not only a live stream, but also edit a video for Tuesday, so I guess it actually kind of sucks for me too. But that means I'm here with you guys, so that's a positive. At least for me. That probably sucks for you guys. But anywho, how you guys doing today? Hope you guys are having a wonderful time so far. So, Dr. Fearsome, sir, hope you get, hoping to know me well, Doc Fearsome, please feel free to go ahead and drop the GoFundMe link in the chat if you would like. Although I will give you a warning. This is not me trying to be mean or anything. But I'm also doing not like a super fundraiser type deal. But if you look up there, that is the funding that we are trying to get in order to do the bill stuff, because we are having to deal with the tree and other issues that I will go a little more public with on my channel here in a few days. I can't do it right now because there's another person involved that I need to talk to and get information from so that I can give you guys the full story of what is going on. But that said, the end result of that is that finances kind of suck, but you do have permission, Dr. Fearsome, to drop your fundraiser in the chat as well for anybody who would like to do that. Anywho, that all said, we do have a few questions in the chat that I wanted to go ahead and get taken care of first. HistoryNet, why don't you like computing forever? Well, I don't like ethnostatists. That's usually like a good litmus test for whether or not I'm going to like somebody. And he's a Catholic ethnostate totalitarian, which to me causes some problems. Lots of problems, actually. So that's one of them. But I also see that we have Jesus is Lord in the chat as well, which is, well, not unwelcome. Jesus Lord, I would donate money for you to debate me. Jill, I literally said on a gaming stream at one point that you were free to hop in and have a chat with me, but you weren't able to connect to Discord. If you're able to connect now, I have no problem with us doing that. Like, honestly, we could literally just, I could go into my my settings, and I can change everything, thumbnail and all, for this episode, and it can just turn into a debate between me and you, and I can push computing forever off to another day. That's a thing I can do. Like, if that's a thing that you'd like to do, I have no problem with that. Heck, in the chat, if you'd rather, instead of me dealing with computing forever, turning his video into something else, and then instead dealing with Jesus is Lord in a debate right now, since he's here in the chat, please press H. If not, press G. Oh, this is mixed. This is incredibly mixed. I should probably set this to where it's actually live chat. Jesus is Lord also has H in there. Okay, then. So I guess instead, we're going to have to do a thing with Jill. Oh, boy. H is for, yes, a debate with Jill instead of dealing with computing forever, pushing computing forever off to another day, and then doing a debate with Jesus Lord now instead. The next question becomes, what would we actually do as a debate topic? Because, all things considered, there's a lot of things that we could do for that. Also, I'm currently setting up the settings, so if I'm a little slow to respond, please forgive me. This person has many G's. An incredible amount of G's. Alrighty. Well, obviously, we're gonna have to put your face here. This was supposed to be something completely different, but now it's this. The thumbnail for this episode is gonna look really weird now that it's changed. And we'll see if we will actually continue it. Watch JoJo, don't skip part 1. Of course don't skip part 1. All of the good Dio stuff is in part 1. So Wild Cirrus 2 appeared? Is there an echo? Hopefully there's not an echo. That would kind of suck. Change thumbnail. You know what? Jill, what topic do you actually want to debate? Because me and you have been going at each other's throats in comment sections for a while. Alright, there we go. Other people mentioning it. Yeah, I actually see that. I see that, Tony. Alright, so. You know what, Jill? You know what? Here's what we do. This is obviously a topic. So you seem to be saying that atheist rationale is a guy. Even though they just came out as trans. So. That's fine. Jill, obviously we have a debate topic, and you are... Bennett Jr. has just said, donated $5. A conversation between Cirrus and Jill. I love it. So, obviously, the trans issue is something that you have a problem with. If that is the case, then let's actually have that discussion. I'm perfectly okay with that one. Let's see here. Searching all users. Jesus is Lord. Jill, just so you know, I am sending a call to you over on Discord. Everybody in the chat will be able to hear you once you accept that call. Here we are waiting forever. Oh, and in case anybody thinks I'm not actually doing that, let's go ahead and go doot, window capture. New window. Takes me just a second to grab Discord. Assuming that, oh right, Discord doesn't actually allow me to capture its window for strange reasons. That's awkward. Okay, then fine. We just do display capture. Add source, display capture. Send this to display number 2. We have one call with a Jesus is Lord that he has not answered yet. And we will be sitting here for a time, I'm sure. Or as El says, I kind of hope to see another Phoenix Wright transformation scene from you. The call is sitting right there, Jill. Should be the very first conversation you see once you open up Discord. All you have to do is hit the join call button. That's it. Jill seems to be taking a long time. Jill, Legend Jones in the chat. Jill is Jesus is Lord. They are fairly infamous in the atheist, skeptic, and theist debate scene. They talk with Skylar Fiction and a few others. They've also been on Modern Day Debate. They are not famous for their great argumentation. Just in how, not virulent. That's not the word I'm looking for. We were going to cover the Broken Gender Dynamics video from Computing Forever, but instead we will be dealing with Jill, assuming they can answer a call. And as you can see, the call is sitting there, ready and... Ooh, what happened over here? Okay, that's just the Streamlabs donation being very slow. I don't know why I have my ringer on my phone open. That's possibly one of the worst mistakes I've made. Professionalism, everybody. I suck at it. Donations for the fundraiser do go through PayPal. However, if you want to send them through Streamlabs, they'll actually go onto the donation ticker up there, but I'm fine with either. But Doc Fearsome, you obviously have a car issue that you are trying to get settled, so instead of you donating to mine, I would rather you not donate to mine, since your issue is a $3,500 car. And Alan Kilkey, am I ever going to cover Stephen Molyneux? Yes, Stephen Molyneux is one of the people who I am planning on taking care of, just not right now. I'm working on it. I have to get another... There's a few more Creation Ministries episodes I want to get on first. Aha! There we are. That looks like Jill's there. Slowly but surely we got here. Jill, you may want to take your mic and unmute it. That would usually be a good first starting thing.
Sorry about that. How's it going?
It's all right. Can't complain. How's your day going?
Oh, man. Couldn't be better. Couldn't be better.
Well, I'm glad that we finally actually managed to get a conversation in. This conversation, at least a conversation between me and you, might not, this particular one, has been in the making for a little bit.
Yeah, we've been going back and forth on, just emailing each other, I guess. Or comments in the comment section.
I was about to say, insofar as YouTube comments or emails.
Yeah. I'm watching your channel. I'm like, wow, I'm impressed. You have so many people listening and watching you. I mean, what is it that you do that makes...
That's a very good question. I'm going to go ahead and chalk it up to the fact that somebody made a plushie of me once, and there's a Rule 63 version of me that has boobs. I'll probably go ahead and chalk it up to that.
Oh, okay, because I've been trying to get... I just did a video today on, trying to help black people, but, I want my help, so, no one paying attention to that, but anything else, what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about another atheist bites?
Well, it seems to me that the most recent point of contention between the two of us, of which there are many, I don't think there are many things that you and I actually agree on. Unless you enjoy Dragon Ball Z, in which case maybe we agree on that.
Oh.
I couldn't hear if that... What's up?
No.
You said no, it's demonic?
Yeah.
Okay, well, then I guess there's probably nothing we agree on. That's a good baseline, though. We've already started out knowing that there's absolutely nothing we agree on, so that means that the purview of topics we could cover is pretty vast. So, I'd say the most recent disagreement we've had as of, 5 minutes ago, is that you seem to be under the impression that Atheist Rationale is a dude, and therefore must be called a dude, even though they literally just came out with a video explaining that is not the case, and coming out to their audience. What I would say is also a very vulnerable position to be in, one that you decided to exploit. So, since we are there, how about we start with that conversation? So, what is your reasoning behind not calling Atheist Rationale a dude? Or, yeah, actually calling Atheist Rationale a dude. That's probably the better way to word it.
Because he is a man.
Okay, so what's your definition of man?
A man is someone who has male anatomy.
Okay, so what is male anatomy?
This male anatomy?
Yeah, what is male anatomy?
When you're born with what they call a chromosome, the Y chromosome, develop certain parts.
So your method for determining this would be the Y chromosome specifically?
Yeah, genetics, right.
Well, I'm not talking about genetics. I'm talking about the chromosome specifically. Not the entire field of genetics, just the chromosome, correct?
Right, yeah.
Okay, cool. So how many chromosomal variants do we have as human beings?
I have no idea.
Really? Because you seem to be incredibly well educated on the topic to have an opinion.
No, I don't claim to have an opinion.
But you just did. No. You have an opinion on it. If you didn't have an opinion on it, you wouldn't be here having this conversation. You do have one, and you even have a stipulation for why you happen to have that. So, I would like to know, since you do have an opinion, obviously, and it is based on chromosomes, how many chromosomal variants do we have?
I have no idea. Enlighten me.
Okay, so I guess an easier question would be, are there females who happen to have a Y chromosome?
Would you call them females?
I didn't ask that. I said, do females exist that have a Y chromosome?
I would say they were male.
You would say they were male. Okay. So you are aware that by the 1920s, biochemists actually were able to understand that what we consider the X and Y chromosome are only part of this argument, right?
Sure.
Okay. So you realize that, realizing this is actually a much more complicated issue than just X or Y, yet that is still your litmus test for determination.
Oh, how do we determine a duck is a duck?
We're not talking about ducks right now. We're talking about chromosomes.
Aren't we descendants? Aren't they part of our ancestry?
Are ducks part of our ancestry?
Ain't ducks or dogs or cats or whatever you believe?
I mean, we're all eukaryotes. There's definitely some type of.
Good. So we can
definitely
use the duck. How do we
we're not.
determine
No,
a duck?
we can't use a duck because we're not talking about ducks right now, Jill. We're talking about humans.
Oh, okay. We're talking about humans. Remember, we're talking about the human anatomy, right?
Well, considering. Wait, hold on. You said chromosome.
Okay. There's also the structure.
There's also the structure.
The structure, the body.
Okay, so you realize that you just said anatomy twice then, because anatomy is the branch of science concerned with the bodily structure of humans.
Right. That's what I mean by anatomy, the structure. Right.
Okay, cool.
So why can't we use it? How can we tell a duck is a duck without any microscope or any scientific?
I have a better question. What is a duck?
Answer my question first. How do we know a duck is
You've done a very poor job of doing that on my end. I don't see why I have to extend the same charity to you. What is a duck?
Duck is a duck.
A duck is a duck. That's a tautology, my friend. Try again. What is a duck?
A duck is a creature.
A duck is a creature. Okay, so humans are creatures too. So obviously this is not a good litmus test for determination. Something more specific has to be there. So what is a duck, my friend?
Exactly. That's why I said structure. It's an animal.
Mm-hmm.
Has certain features.
Okay, so what does a duck have to do with a human?
Web feet. There are certain features to that animal which classifies it.
Wait, the features classify it? I was under the impression that we classified it arbitrarily.
Based on their features.
So the ducks classify themselves?
No. Their features.
Their features classify them?
That's right.
So
we
humans
classify them.
So it's not their features that classify them, it's we that classify them using their features as a mechanism.
Features, yeah.
Okay, because that's not what you said.
That they are classified based on their features, based on their anatomy.
Okay, so what is the purpose of... So let us get to the end of this particular rabbit hole. What is the reasoning behind this duck argument? Obviously, there's something we can get here.
I would use the same line of reasoning to describe what a man is. Anatomical features of what we know.
Okay, so what anatomical features do you consider those of a man?
Broad shoulders.
Broad shoulders? Really? So females who have broad shoulders aren't female?
No, I wasn't finished. Comma is right. Penis. Testicles.
Okay.
Right. Okay. The physical parts of a man, but me personally, I take it to the next level.
So, well, hold on. Question. So you are aware that everything that you've spoken about right there has to do with sex, correct?
Is right, the sexual organ, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so the sex of a person, that's what we're dealing with, right?
Yeah, whether they're male or female, right?
No. We're dealing with the sex. We're not dealing with a binary yet. We haven't even established a binary. We haven't got there quite yet.
I don't know what a binary is.
You don't know what a binary is? Don't you teach math?
The word the liberals made up.
Binary is... You're working on a computer right now. You are aware that a computer utilizes binary code, correct?
What does that have to do with human anatomy?
I don't know. What the fuck does a duck have to do with human anatomy?
So I would say that the human anatomy has different features from the female anatomy. To get these changes, they have to sex change to become or look like would look.
I have a question.
Right?
So are there any sports that you enjoy?
I'm a Yankees fan, and
oh, cool. So you enjoy baseball?
The majors, I think. No, wait, the Dodgers got on a bit of a streak, but.
Okay, so if I were to talk about football, and you were to talk about baseball, and we were to try to compare these two together, would we not end up talking past each other?
Oh, there are some parallels.
Oh, no, certainly there are some parallels, but ultimately, if I'm talking about football and I mention a touchdown, and you're sitting there going, I mentioned a home run 2 seconds ago, my dude, what the hell are you talking about? You recognize how this conversation could go haywire fairly quickly.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So you're talking about sex, which is a biological determinant, arbitrary as it may be, and I am talking about gender. We are dealing with two separate things currently.
What's the difference between sex and gender?
Sex has to do with biological characteristics, and gender has to do with social characteristics, has to do with social assignment.
Okay. All right, well, when I discuss science, I don't like to include any social...
I am not aware of a single time you've discussed science. I'm aware of many times you've discussed pseudoscience, but we're not having that conversation right now.
Okay, well, we're discussing the science of the male species.
Male species? Politics. Wait, male species? Are you saying that I am not the same species as a female that is also human?
Of the male part of the human species. The female is the counterpart.
Okay.
Of the human species, excuse me. Thank you for correcting me on that factoid. But would you say that identified as a 12-year-old Chinese woman, would I be able to enroll into elementary school and start dating again?
Well, currently you are talking about one race.
41 years old.
Okay, well, currently you're talking about one thing, race, two things, age, and then three things, gender. So first of all, I'd have to go ahead and stomp you on the category error. We're not talking about trans ageism, which is also a stupid idea, and we're not talking about trans racism, considering that race is as stupidly constructed as anything else. We are talking about the gender. So if you can stick on topic, that would be great.
Sure, but I'm showing that in your reasoning, if you're going to suggest that a person
are you saying that
change my
I'm
age.
not.
If I can change my gender, I can change my age.
You are, well, first of all, gender's not biology. First of all, I did not switch anything, my friend. You are the one committing a category error, and you're doing it very brazenly.
Define gender for me again, please.
Gender. Gender can refer to a determinant that is on any of the sexes. It can also refer, more broadly, the range of identities that correspond to either of those two bimodal factors.
You said that someone can determine their gender.
Did I say someone can determine their gender? Hold on. When did I say that?
That gender can be determined based off philosophy, based off of your philosophical understanding you believe to be right or what you believe to be true. Question
has nothing to do with what I believe to be true. It has to do with arbitrary assignment of identity. That has nothing to do with any truisms. There's no axiomatic value to it.
Who makes the determination? Who arbitrates this?
Who arbitrates this? Well, it's certainly not you. You're poor at it.
You're up there arbitrating who gets to decide gender.
Well, society at large would, considering that gender is socially constructed.
Sex is a social construction.
Yes, there's a social construction that goes on.
gender thing. I don't care about gender.
Wait, hold on, but you do care about gender, because when we identify somebody, we identify them by their gender, not their sex.
But I would say that they're the same.
You would say that they're the same. So you would conflate
gender and redefined it to mean something other than what it means biologically.
Gender has not meant anything biologically. Gender was coined by James Money in the 50s. That term has meant the societal construction from the beginning. It has slowly been conflated with sex, but if you look at the etymology of the word, that is not the case.
1950, let's tear it out of our thinking then. That's too late.
That's too late. So any information that is discovered past the 50s is too late?
That's not information.
Really? That's not information. So the definition of a word. So the definition of a word is not information.
No. The definition of a word
Wait. The definition of a word is not. Are you aware of what information is, sir? Information is an umbrella term. It has all of these things.
Are you aware that anyone can coin a word at any time?
Yes, and at that point,
what does the word cool mean?
Cool has variance definitions. English as a language has multiple languages.
50.
I'm not sure that necessarily matters here.
Hey,
here's the thing. When we're having conversation, typically that's not necessarily what the etymological root of a word is that we have to worry about, because words don't have any actual value. Words have no meaning, sir. They actually have usages. When I'm using the term gender, I am referring to these societal characteristics, these social constructions. I only brought it back to James Money because you seem to be misinformed on where that term came from in its current form. I'm letting you know what the actual history of that is.
Good. I don't care about your social construction.
You don't care about social construction, so do you not call anybody by their gender? Do you not call anybody by any pronouns?
I say male and female. I'm speaking.
But you are aware those are socially constructed. So you do care about social construction. You're in a conversation about it currently.
So are black and white. But
and you seem to
black and white.
Wait, hold on. So black and white are also socially constructed, but by your but hold on. But you don't care about social constructions. But you also just made a video trying to help black people. It seems to me that social constructions actually have a lot to do with you right now.
Themselves black, so yeah, they identify as black. I don't, even though they would identify me as a black person. I don't identify with those types of social constructs. It's just that. That's all it is. It's something somebody constructed. That's why it's called a social construct.
Yes.
Let's deal with the biology.
Okay, but gender has nothing. But gender has nothing to do with biology.
Exactly. So why are we discussing it?
Because when we're dealing with identification, we're talking about gender. We're not talking about sex.
About how socially you identify. I don't care what socially you identify.
Really? So I have a question. What litmus test, if we were determined that person X is female, like let's say you just met them on the street and you were to hold out your hand and you're going to shake their hand and you're going to say, "Oh, hello, ma'am, how are you doing today?" How would you determine that ma'am was the optimal word?
In today's world, you have no idea.
Today's world, you have no idea.
No, because there's so many changes.
So you have no litmus test whatsoever. So do you just refer to everybody as some sort of agender until they tell you otherwise?
If they appear to look like a duck and walk like a duck and talk like a duck, then I will call it a duck.
Oh, so we're dealing with phenotypical expression solely.
Until I get more information.
So again, we're dealing with phenotypical expression solely. That's your only determinant, correct?
No, it's not. Until I get more information.
Well, wait. So you mean it is until you get more information?
Person is whatever he determines they are. If they think in their mind that there's something other than what their body has determined.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. They think in their mind something. Are you? Wait. Hold on. I need to dial this back, my friend. So if they think in their mind that there's something other than their body has determined, are you aware of what the ratios of gray and white matter are in the brain and what they correspond to?
Gray and white. This argument. Come on.
This argument. You can say this argument. Come on, but what is your reasoning against it?
So what scientists have done?
Yeah, they've done science. Something you haven't done a day in your life. Continue.
But what scientists have done, taught science in the past, is they scan brains. Yeah, they scan brains, right? And they've determined that this side of the brain lights up or this part of the brain lights up. happens, and this part of the brain lights up when that happens. What does that mean?
You're talking about MRIs right now. That's not what I'm talking about.
Not MRIs.
I'm talking about disposition of different matter types in the brain. This is different.
Yeah, and they use a scan. It's not necessarily MRI, but I can't remember the name of it. But it is an imaging type of machine they use. But
I'm not talking about imaging of the brain. I'm talking about like the actual matter itself, like the physical makeup.
Physical makeup of the brain is different from a man than it is a woman. Is that your argument?
Typically, what we have seen is that there's about a 6.5 times increase in gray matter in what we consider to be male brains, and about a 10 times increase of white matter in what we consider to be female brains. And this is something that we see typically down the line, with only one exception. Do you know what that exception is?
What's that?
The exception is that when we have actually taken cadavers who happen to have brains, if we have a cadaver, what we found was that... What's a cadaver? Do you not... Wait, you've done science, but you don't know what a cadaver is? Okay, a cadaver is another word for a corpse.
I'm not a bomb specialist, but go ahead.
Okay, so what we found with cadavers is that people who, and these are people who did consent for like organ transplants and other such things. There were other experiments that were done on these people as well, and what we found was that people who identified as male, 99% of them being what we would consider cis males, did happen to have this 6.5 times increase of gray matter in the brain. The exception, however, were that women who identified most typically as male, so what we would call a trans man, these people had the exact same thing in their brain, a 6.5 times increase of gray matter in the brain. And the opposite was true.
How long have they believed that they were?
Why does that matter? It's not... Wait, are you aware of how dysphoria works?
It does matter. If you check their brain when they were first born, maybe it would be different. But
well, it doesn't matter. This is before even like hormone therapy.
I would like to see that same study, but the subjects be newborns.
But the subject... Not
people who have lived 30 years believing they were...
Wait, hold on. So you want to see newborns who don't even have the ability to identify themselves yet, and you would like them to be the people who are cut up so that we can determine this?
Of course, they would have to be already deceased.
They would have to be already deceased. Okay, so exactly how would you ask a newborn, "Hi, I'm curious. What would you identify yourself as per the society you happen to live in?"
Remember,
how would you do that?
Killing newborns is your party.
We're not talking about the abortion argument. I can kick your ass on that one too if you'd like.
Yeah, I think if you had taken that same study with these cadavers who have lived as homosexuals for 40 years.
Wait, homosexuals? We're not talking about homosexuals, my friend. We're talking about trans people.
Fans have believed that they were a woman. Neuroplasticity would suggest that, yes, your brain can change.
This has nothing to do... Wait. Neuroplasticity says nothing about this. This is about the matter disposition in the brain. That is a thing that typically maintains. The matter disposition in your brain is something that typically maintains.
Okay, typically.
Yes, typically, and we happen to use the typical as opposed to the atypical when determining norms in science.
Okay, so when those two people, when they were babies, have the same amount of brain matter as they did when they became adults?
We're not talking about amount of brain matter in total. We are talking about the disposition. We're talking about ratios.
Ratio gray matter. What is gray matter?
Gray matter? You don't know what gray matter is, yet you're part of this conversation.
I've heard the term, but I want you to explain what it is.
So what it actually is doesn't necessarily matter to this conversation, but I can let you know anyway. It's a major component of the central nervous system. It consists of neuronal cell bodies, neuropil, and glial cells, and capillaries. Wow, I need sleep to be able to pronounce words. Anyway, that is what gray matter is for in the brain. But what it is for, what its purpose is, doesn't necessarily matter for this conversation. This conversation is about the actual dispositions here. This isn't about like what the function of these individual things are.
You're claiming that this gray matter is the determinant. So
Wait, no. I'm not claiming this is the determinant. I never said that. You could actually rewind this. You could rewind this if you'd like, and you would not see that I said that gray matter is the determinant. Gray matter is one of the corollaries. This is a correlation that we have found with this system when we are trying to determine whether or not somebody has dysphoria post-mortem or whether they had dysphoria post-mortem. This is one of the ways that we have determined. This is one of the litmus tests we have found, and it's been fairly consistent. This is only talking about biological factors, by the way. We're not even getting into the societal ones. So we're in your territory currently.
Yeah, and what's the difference between gray matter and white matter?
They are two different matter types in the brain. Again, what their purpose is doesn't matter for this conversation.
Well, what's the difference between the two?
Again,
that's of why this is relevant. Why is the amount of gray matter relevant? Why is a
penis? Wait, point you to a study? Oh,
it says gray matter is part of the determining factor.
I never said it was part of a determining factor. Never said it was part of a determining factor.
What's the relevance of it? Why bring it up?
Because it's a corollary. This is a correlation.
What does that mean?
You don't know it. You've never done science in your life, my friend.
This situation,
you have never once. Nor have you done mathematics.
Okay, all right. In this situation, how is it correlating? What is the correlation?
What is the correlation? Well, the correlation is higher amounts of gray matter for what we consider cis males and higher amounts of white matter for what we consider cis females.
Okay, so the people who are born, let's conclude, draw your ideas to its logical conclusion.
Draw my ideas or actually take the conclusions from the study? Because I actually have the study pulled up right now. In fact, actually, I can go ahead.
Let's draw that to this logical conclusion.
My logical conclusion, no, this is the conclusions of the study. This is the conclusions of the data. This is also a study that has actually had 36 cited sources within it that it has pulled for it.
I have no problem with the idea that men's brains are different. Okay, but this is what I'm trying to understand.
When what you consider a female experiences dysphoria, and we find that they have dysphoria, they believe that they are male, and with all of that, we find that they happen to have what would be considered a more male brain, as if the biology happened to be a very important factor in this discussion of dysphoria, that seems like per your litmus test, they pass.
Okay, what I'm trying to get you to do is to create some sort of scale. Because right now, you're all over the place.
Wait, I'm all over the place? Everybody in the chat, if I'm the one who's all over the place, please press H.
You're fans if he's all over. So, okay, we have something like the Kinsey scale. Is that, do you like, scale? Is there some sort of scale that I could walk into a clinic and determine, okay, this person has this amount of brain matter, he's 300 pounds.
So you know that the Kinsey scale is about homosexuality and heterosexuality, right? This isn't about trans people.
But what I'm asking you is, do you have something similar to the Kinsey scale? Where I could say, okay, this person is 350 pounds, they have a certain amount of gray matter. If they don't have a certain
gray matter is not a determinant, my friend. This is simply a correlation.
Oh, okay.
What do you consider? I've asked you earlier what you consider to be the actual determinants.
I already told you.
Okay. So you are talking about anatomy. So okay, I have a question. I'm going to ask you if you think that these happen to be functional determinants for sex. Again, we're not talking about gender right now. We're just talking about sex.
Gender doesn't exist.
Gender doesn't actually. Gender does exist. All social constructs do in fact exist.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No such thing as black. No such thing as racism.
Wait, no such thing as racism. No such thing as racism.
No such thing as no.
No such thing as racism. That's the hill you want to die on here.
My fallback, it's not my fallback. No, there's no such thing as any of those things.
Really?
Hillary told you that
I don't give a fuck about what Hillary said. I really don't. I fucking hate her.
Back there, call my fallback, then my fallback.
Okay, do you speak in anything but stupid?
Starting your in the Democratic Party.
I'm not even a Democrat, but no. You know, whatever.
Democrat?
Not even a Democrat, my dude.
Okay, sure. Who did you vote for last election?
Who did I vote for last election? I couldn't vote last election. I was in the middle of moving. But who you vote for doesn't tell... Wait, are you assuming that a Republican couldn't vote for a Democrat? Because
the Christian couldn't vote for a
Democrat.
Wait.
So you're saying there are no Christian Democrats.
Anyway.
Okay, so we've already got to the no True Scotsman. Okay.
No, that's not the No True Scotsman.
Yes, it is, actually. But,
no, you can't
anywho, yes, I can. Yes, I can, and I did. I'm willing to die on that hill if you'd like me to.
You cannot use the No Scotsman.
No? Okay, cool. So, let's start off with this. No true Christian would vote for a Democrat. I happen to know true Christians who voted Democrat. So, are they true Christians? No. Really? So, you claim this is not the No True Scotsman fallacy?
Tell them to their face.
Really? Really?
With Scripture.
With Scripture. So Scripture talks about Democrats. Scripture talks about the Democrats.
Yes.
Really?
The word liberal.
Okay.
Where are you from?
Where am I from? I am from the American South, my friend.
Oh, okay. From down south. My mother was born in the deep south. And she met a black man. So I was eating ham hocks and or what we would call a sub. So I was at the best of both worlds. My dad was Jamaican. Plantains and ham hocks and pies and cakes and all that good southern cooking you guys do down there.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's also a factor that's helped me gain a lot of weight. We enjoy deep fried food way too much here. As a result, I have chins that resemble some of the structures in China.
I see.
But we were having a conversation, and we have diverted off that topic to Southern cooking. Now, we actually have found something we agree on, though, which is that Southern cooking is wonderful. It just happens to have some terribly negative effects.
Yeah. But back to this brain matter thing. I'm trying to understand. So,
it only matters insofar as there's a correlate. That's it. Gray matter is actually not a determinant for sex, but it is a correlate that we have determined.
Okay.
The actual factors for determining sex are gametal expression, gonadal expression, genitalia expression, phenotypical expression. And there's one more that's not coming to mind for some reason, but when I remember it, I'll let you know.
Okay. So why not just concentrate on the determining factors rather than?
Well, because you attempted to make the claim that if somebody identified as a woman, that there was not some biological component of them that didn't at least correlate with what we would consider a woman. But there actually are correlates there, so that's where we're sitting currently.
He could also have a small back. I mean, that's a correlate, would you say?
Small back?
Small waist. Yeah.
I mean, these are things that we could consider in typical ranges, but I happen to have a girlfriend with shoulders as broad as me. That doesn't.
That's what I want to know. That's what I'm asking of you, sir.
Yeah,
what is the range? What is the range?
So that happens to be part of phenotypical expression, which is one of the 5 factors at play here.
I want to know what the range is. I need a spectrum.
You need a spectrum.
If I'm 300, like BMI. If I'm 300 pounds. Matter should I have? Pounds in a female, how much gray matter should I have?
Well, you realize that the actual size of your body doesn't have any determining factor on the size of your brain. So I'm not sure why you'd bring this up.
Okay, what about age?
What about age? Age can change that, but we're not currently talking about age. We're currently talking about, well, you're talking about sex. I'm trying to talk about gender, considering that you're talking about the identifying of somebody. But given that gender has...
You can identify whatever you want to identify.
Okay, so, but the question isn't whether or not they can identify in whatever they want to identify. Although I'm sure you would have issues with some Christians who voted Democrat identifying as Christian.
No.
The question becomes...
Bible says they're not Christian.
Oh, I'm glad the Bible talks about Democrats. Yeah. So, my question, though, becomes, what is the purpose of not referring to somebody by their identity? What is gained in that?
AR. Call him AR.
Well, you can call her AR. You can call her AR all day. That's fine.
That's right. The gender is that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you seem to have a terrible memory.
I'll just say AR.
You can just say AR. Well, that's fine. If you want to just use somebody's name because you're not comfortable using their gender, you are at least using a portion of their identity, and I'm okay with that because both gender and name happen to be things that we assign an identity. As an example, I would not call you Martha at any point in time.
Can he go into the women's bathroom?
I mean, legally, yes, and there's no reason for her to not be able to go into the bathroom.
Oh, that's right. Damn. Keep saying.
Yeah, you keep making mistakes. Don't worry, my parents made some too. That's why I'm here.
Can AR go into women's sports and play against real women?
Wait, real women? Don't you mean cis women?
Real women.
Cis women.
What does that mean, cis women?
Cis has to do with identifying with with the gender you were assigned at birth.
Doctor assigns you because the doctor doesn't care about what you think socially or what you've constructed socially. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm going by.
So here's the thing. Back to your point. Oh, okay. Then what's your point?
I'm trying to get an idea of how this gray matter. Well, we're off that. Forget about the gray matter. I think it suggests to me AR is a woman.
Well, I'm not suggesting to you. I'm telling you.
Are you serious?
Well, I'm Sirius, but Sirius wants to. People mispronounce it all the time.
Can we at least say this, and we'll try to meet in a middle ground, I guess. Sitting to a woman. Can we at least meet there?
Try one more time. Discord actually cut out half of what you said.
Can we at least meet halfway and say that he is transitioning?
I mean, she could be transitioning, but transitioning has to do...
Why are you calling her she now?
Well, because I'm talking about gender. I'm not talking about sex, my friendo.
Oh, your social construct again.
Well, not my social construct. This is a typically figured societal one.
With the liberals' construct.
The liberals. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm fairly certain...
What is a fetus?
What is a fetus? I'm not sure what that has to do with this.
Social construct liberals made up. To avoid the truth.
So, do you want the real answer for the fetus, or do you want the answer that will be significantly more entertaining, given I'm an atheist?
The entertaining one.
Oh, cool. Then a fetus is a snack.
Oh, my God. You need to repent, atheist. Of your sins. Loves you. He doesn't want to see you die and go to hell. Now, I came on here because you invited me on.
Mm-hmm. And I've actually, and regardless of how I've acted, I've actually thoroughly enjoyed our conversation so far, even though it's only been 40 minutes. I'm sure there's a lot we can cover.
And the thing was when it happened, when I made the comment that I made, Carl wasn't upset with me. He was joking back. He was making, be it sodomite jokes directed towards me. He did take it the way the rest of these snowflake liberals took it.
Yeah, and that's because AR happens to be a very smart person. They understand that getting offended at something doesn't actually help terribly much. I understand this as well. This is why, if you look at, for instance, the video that I did on Nicholas Fuentes, look at most of the comments in there, and I'm joking with people who've told me to straight up commit suicide.
Oh, that's not right.
Well, I think it's hilarious. Only insofar as there are people who think that I actually care about their opinions on this. And I mean, I do to an extent. I care about their opinions when the criticism and critique is warranted, but whenever it ends up boiling down to, you're fat, you should kill yourself, and just like, well, that's fine. I've already tried that once. It didn't work terribly well. I might try it again at some point, but hopefully we don't get to that road.
This is what the comment was. It was something like, "Well, I guess you," because I always joke with him when he's live or when he's on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get a haircut, kid. If you want to get a job. He came out. I said, "Getting that haircut." And then all these snowflake liberals all went crazy and timing me out and just said how much all that just crazy. Oh boy, but that's your world. I'm glad I'm a born again believer and I don't have to deal with the likes of liberals.
Well, you frequent the channels of people who you would consider liberal, so it seems like you deal with us quite a lot.
I'm trolling for Jesus.
Trolling for Jesus.
No, that's what I do.
Well, trolling is a type of fishing as well, and Jesus did say to make you fishers of men, so I guess it works.
Yeah, Jesus trolled all the time. You don't read the Bible?
I do, actually. I have one literally 2 feet away from me.
Jesus trolled the Pharisees constantly. That's why they wanted to kill him.
Well, and also there was that whole segment where his disciples were just like, Jesus, what the heck are you talking about? That sounded like that was meant to deliberately confuse them, and he turns around, he's like, yes, it was.
Yeah. Sometimes he would baffle them and long enough to get away before they picked up the stones, would slip away in the crowd before they'd be like, wait a minute, he just insulted us,
Mm-hmm.
They're like liberals. Stuff just go right over their head. They don't really get the joke until...
I'd say that it has less to do with people being liberals and more to do with just the general segmentation of an in and out group. So, for instance, there's a lot of things that I'm sure that liberals say that are memes within the lefty community. Well, not that all liberals are leftists. That's a really awkward stance, but a lot of memes that end up running around the lefty community end up going over the heads of people who are more right wing, and likewise, there's a lot of memes in the right wing community that go over the heads of people in the left wing community. So I don't necessarily think that it's a liberals don't get jokes thing. It's more of segmented communities don't get each other's humor. This is a typical normal thing.
Well, certainly, you may be right about liberals, but certainly the Democratic Party has been taken over by leftists and the leftist agenda.
I'd argue that there's not a single true leftist in the Democratic Party.
You consider a open socialist a leftist?
An open socialist would be a... So wait, which open socialist?
They're all of them.
All of them? Wait, all the Democrats are open socialists? This is news to me.
Well, we know the AOC and Bernie in particular.
Well, Bernie's actually a social. Bernie's actually for social democracy. He's not a socialist.
Don't give me that social democracy.
What is your definition of socialist, my dude?
There's a social democracy.
Well, again, what is your definition of socialist?
Questioning.
You seem to be cutting out.
Questioning.
So I'm not trying to ask you to repeat because I'm flustered or anything, but it sounds like you're saying ashening because Discord's cutting you out, and I think that's a problem on Discord's end.
Rationing. You either have rationing or you have free market. You can't have both.
Rationing or free market. So you are aware that free markets exist in socialist economies, right?
Who gathers the bushels and takes them away once the free market?
Wait, hold on. We seem to have a fundamental misunderstanding of how socialism actually works. Socialism has to do with people, like the people who actually work these areas, controlling the means of production. That's if you're just talking socialism, that's it.
Socialism, repeat that again.
Socialism is where the people who happen to be workers, the proletariat, control the means of production, as opposed to a CEO.
That's what Karl Marx taught. Yeah, that's what they all teach when they first come into power. Yeah.
Except when we're talking about, like, say, Marxist-Leninism, we're not talking about socialism in and of itself. Marx also viewed socialism as one step away from communism, which, as of 1965, I want to say, there was an entirely new understanding of what socialism should be that's thoroughly divorced from just what Marx taught.
This is the problem with liberalism. I mean, no offense.
Well, you wouldn't offend me, as I'm, from what I understand, not a liberal. I think I'm actually fairly more left than what a liberal would be considered. So you can insult liberals all you want. It's not going to actually affect me.
Well, this is the problem with the left, liberalism, antichrist regimes, antichrist individuals. That would include everyone on the left. There are no Christians voting for Democrats or abortion, LGBTQ, etc., etc. You would be violating all of Scripture. Jesus Christ would not be condoning any behavior. You have these nuances onto society and say, this is what socialism is today. We don't care what you say socialism is today. We don't care if you frame it under the mantra of democratic. Kicking at history. We're not reading your social propaganda.
Wait, what propaganda? I haven't given any propaganda.
You just told me that socialism has changed its definition.
Yes, that's actually a historically accurate... Are you aware of how many different types of socialism exist?
I'm sure for every socialist like yourself, there is a nuance, I'm sure. But the basic understanding that I have from history is that it deals with rationing. And
by rationing, do you mean by rationing? Do you mean the redistribution of wealth?
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So I have a question. Are you against any and all taxation?
I'm not against taxation, no.
Okay, and I'm imagining that stems from like a render unto Caesar's type of deal, right?
If the government says pay taxes, then you render under Caesar what's his. That's
okay,
his,
and that's
his land is his house.
And because you happen to be living in that land, then you pay the taxes for the land that you're living in. And if you don't like it, then you go to somebody else's land with different rules, essentially.
That's what Jesus taught.
Okay, cool. So we agree on that. So do we happen to have in our society, which is markedly capitalist, do we happen to have this rationing that you're speaking of?
Answer that.
I couldn't hear what you said.
I would say no.
You'd say no. Okay, so you would argue, we agreed earlier that your term, rationing, and my term, redistribution of wealth, are equal, correct? We are talking about the same thing when we're using these terms.
Not exactly.
Not exactly. Oh, so something changed from 5 minutes ago. What changed?
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, I would say, yeah, they are similar. But what are you getting at?
So, you agree that we live in a society that has taxes, and you agree that we live in a society that does not redistribute wealth. Would you agree that we live in a society here in the United States where some of the taxes go to schools?
Oh, taxes. When I think of rationing, I think of everyone gets the same amount. So that's different.
Yeah, that is not even what Marx taught. He didn't even teach everybody getting the same amount.
It's not. Of course, the elite don't get the rationing. Of course.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get the cot and the FEMA camp room.
Mm-hmm.
They'll stay on the hill.
Okay, and that's all fine. But we're not talking about elites getting a separate amount. So let's just say the proletariat. Would the proletariat all receive the same amount in this? Yes.
Be rich. They already have their amount. Whoever controls more sections gets more money. That's how it works. Section here,
mm-hmm.
and then they'll fight amongst each other for control over us, over sections of us.
Okay. So again, question. So the statement, we do not engage in any redistribution of wealth. But you also agree that we have taxes, and you also agree that that tax money goes to schools.
Taxes is not redistributing wealth.
Wait, hold on. So if I receive money from my job, and a portion of that money is taken away and redistributed into the school system, that is not a redistribution of wealth?
I wouldn't say so. I would say
Wait.
paying taxes.
Yes, and
Because
paying
schools are
taxes towards social programs is in fact a redistribution of wealth.
That's infrastructure building. That's not.
Yes, that's redistribution to that infrastructure.
Okay.
Okay, so are you then also going to make the argument that something like welfare is not also a redistribution in this way?
Welfare is a safety net. That's all.
Yes, and you are aware of how that safety net is constructed, correct?
Taxpayers.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? If that money comes from one person, not one person, but I'm a YouTuber, so I pay through what's called a 1099 miscellaneous document. So when I sign my 1099 at the end of the year, and I'm allocating the 24% that I'm going to have to pay the taxes, when I'm allocating that amount, and that goes to the government, and they send that money to somebody else for either a food stamp stipend or to somebody who happens to be on welfare or even Social Security, that wealth is not being redistributed in some way?
Well, it's being redistributed in the safety net for those who have a need. It's not being redistributed to everyone equally.
It doesn't have to be redistributed to everyone equally. Redistribution doesn't have to be equal. It just has to be redistributed.
It's redistributed to those who have a hardship, an economic hardship.
Mm-hmm. So that wealth is being redistributed.
Gets a ration, but hey, this Jim just broke his leg.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's come together as a community. This is what the community teaches, and help him so that no one is in need. I have no problem with that safety net.
Okay, and you know how that safety net is constructed, correct?
It can be constructed two ways. People can come together through charity, or we could pay taxes.
Yes, and you are aware that charity, by its nature, is donating to one cause and then redistributing it elsewhere. That is also redistribution of wealth. Just typically with your charities, they are being redistributed by more private organizations as opposed to by the government. But we're still talking about the same thing.
I think you're on the redistributing part, but I don't think that is the determining factor, since we were talking about determining factors. Determine whether or not you have a socialist country or...
I'm not talking about if we have a socialist country. I'm aware that we don't have a socialist country. We happen to have a capitalist country that has a lot of socialist-styled programs that are used as band-aids for that, like welfare for people who can't actually, make enough while working, because the minimum wage isn't quite enough to sustain a lot of people. Like, I'm aware that we're in a capitalist country. I'm not trying to say
you're missing the point.
Mm-hmm.
The point is what drives that tax dollar is the free market that drives innovation and wealth.
And I already acquiesced that the free market in and of itself is not a determining factor for whether or not something is socialist. As an example, so here in the United States, we are what is considered, I think, a 74% free market. Whereas a place like Hong Kong is like a 90% free market, something like that. We are still considered capitalist, but we still have social programs where wealth is redistributed.
But those social programs are not... It's not an economy of social programs.
Wait, so you mean that those social programs are not part of the economy?
It's not an economy of social programs. If I said there are women in the room, it doesn't mean it's a room of women.
Mm-hmm.
You have in our economic system, you have a safety net that was set up. People get out of the depression, and that is only to be used temporarily. That is not to be something where you create a welfare state. That's why I have a problem.
I'm not talking about creating a welfare state. So I have a question. What do you consider the military?
military is a fighting force.
And what funds the military? We do. And how do we do that?
Our tax dollars.
Okay, cool. So you're saying that we redistribute the money from the citizens into the military?
You're using redistribute here.
Are you aware of what the term redistribute means?
Okay, if I give Sam $1 and he gives it to Johnny, you're calling that redistribution. My definition exactly of what I mean by redistribution.
Redistribution, the distribution of something in a different way.
Let me finish a point. The state owns everything. People own everything and pay taxes. A portion of our tax dollars owns and controls the major means of production. And they redistribute the wealth.
So,
oligarchs, the Obamas, the Hillarys.
So your litmus test for whether or not something is socialist is when the state
controls the goods. Who controls? Who is gathering up the bushels and carrying them away? Riding on his horse and says, with a gun, and says, "Give me your sandwich." Gives to somebody who doesn't want to work. That's the redistribution of the wealth. Comes and sends the FBI on you if you're a conservative.
If you're a conservative, they stick the FBI on you. Oh. So this doesn't happen to anybody on the left, then? Okay.
Or Epstein. Rest in hell.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that anybody who has the purview of Epstein definitely deserves to commit not alive.
Well, he won't be resting in hell, actually. He'll be suffering.
Well, the beds are pretty warm there. I don't know.
Unless he repented.
Yeah, I kind of think that somebody like him probably deserved to go to hell even if he repented.
Oh.
Then again, I'm also of the opinion that nobody deserves hell as an infinite concept.
Oh, no, if he repented of his sins, God is...
Well, I'm glad to know that all of the people that he molested will be able to spend an eternity with him in heaven.
Now, if they don't forgive him, they're going to hell.
Ah, so the victims get to burn forever, but the predator gets to, go up and chill with the big dude in the sky.
You read Jesus? Then God's not going to forgive you.
Okay, and that's fine. I'm fairly certain that I could make a case that I'm a more moral person than God.
Oh, Jesus. That's another conversation I'd love to have.
Sure. So is there a point in time where I would kill everybody on Earth? Probably not.
Killed everyone on Earth?
Yeah.
Everyone on Earth?
Well, everybody except a small handful of people. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was wondering how you got here, if that were the case.
Mm-hmm.
And his wife and his 3 sons and their wives, right? So that's...
Yeah, that's a small handful of people. That's like, what, your friend circle, maybe?
That's how many people were watching me this morning when I did my live stream. 71. What do you talk about on here, man?
I mean, if you want to know what I talk about on here, I happen to have a show every Monday and Thursday, and you'd be able to figure that out pretty easy.
I tell people not to subscribe to my channel because if they subscribe, a certain amount of subscribers, then the YouTube will start using those algorithms to try to come get me and shut me down like they did Alex Jones.
Okay, so, well, that's an entirely different conversation, but you are aware that people on the left on YouTube get hit as well, correct?
Name one.
Name one person on the left that got hit?
No.
Yeah,
repeating my question.
Yeah, Godless Cranium got demonetized completely.
What did he do?
What did he do? Pretty much nothing. He's not the only one. There's also Bravely Taylor, who just got demonetized as well. And 80% of Mr. Atheist's videos get demonetized as well as mine. Though we didn't have full channel demonetizations.
Aye. Were you demonetized because of what you believe?
YouTube is as vague with us as they are with people on the right. Also, 3 Arrows had his entire channel deleted.
Yeah, well, those algorithms, I tell you, they're something. They have a mind of their own.
Yeah, they get literally everybody. It just happens to be that the conservative side of people whine the hardest, so they're the ones that get the media coverage.
So why was Alex Jones banned?
Why was Alex Jones banned? Literal harassment of families?
Oh, you're a liberal.
That's actually against TOS. Like, breaking TOS is a really easy way to get off of a platform.
The terms. Liberals.
So wait, a platform that sets its own terms, when you break them, you don't deserve to be kicked off that platform?
You do.
Okay, cool. And he doxed Sandy Hook's victims, so that seems to me to be that's not true, really?
Why?
Really?
On my channel, and take the Trump derangement syndrome. I think you might suffer from TDS. Take the Trump derangement.
Except I've considered Alex Jones a piece of shit well before Trump was in office.
Would you vote for Trump 2020?
No, I wouldn't. Why would I not?
Wouldn't you vote for the Great White Hope?
Oh my God, this is the Jesse Lee Peterson thing.
Yes.
Well, for one, I have a problem with ethnostatists as a rule. And nationalists as a rule. I think nationalists are pieces of shit.
I'm a nationalist.
Oh, cool. So I think you're a piece of shit.
You're not proud of your country?
That would be patriotism, my friend.
What's the difference between national? Here we go again.
The difference between this is not a liberal thing. The difference between nationalism and patriotism. Patriotism is pride in your own country. Nationalism is pride in your own country at the expense of other countries.
Wow. Where did you get that definition?
Let's see here. Let me just Google this real quick to see if I actually am correct.
Oh, Google, of course, the resource for the atheist liberal.
Let's see, nationalism, and Google's for everybody, not just atheist liberals. I'm glad to know that your education's poor. Identification of one's nation and support for its interests, especially to the exclusion or detriment of the interest of other nations.
Oh, Google, we worship you.
Yeah, I don't treat Google like a god. I don't.
Google. That reminds me of the prophets of Baal. The Bible about God killing everybody. Do you happen to read why God killed everyone? He did give a reason, even though he didn't have to. He's God. He really wanted to.
So if God were to kill you right now, he wouldn't have to give a reason?
Oh.
Okay. That's
done, good and faithful servant, and I would say, I don't know what
you've been so thoroughly cucked by God. That's wonderful.
Can you tell us why God sent the flood, since you brought up the flood?
Why did God send the flood? Well, aside from the fact that he considered the world washed in sin at that point, and I believe there was also a little debacle with humans breeding with Nephilim.
I don't hold to the Nephilim being women sleeping with angels, but
I mean, it doesn't have to be angels. It could just as easily be like frost giants or like slimes from Monster Rancher. It doesn't matter.
But no, that's not the reason why.
Well, enlighten me.
Because everyone, except for Noah and his sons, everyone, the Bible says, Genesis chapter 6, evil inclinations, evil thoughts. Continually.
Evil thoughts. So he killed them for thought crimes. How Orwellian of God.
They did evil. That's all they did. That's all they thought about. That's all they thought about doing.
So how did anybody have a society? It seems to me that there couldn't be a single society existing if everybody was evil all the time.
It was bad. It was bad, man. It was like Mad Max. Bad back then. You wouldn't want to live back then.
Well, no, I wouldn't. There were a lot of diseases back then that we didn't have vaccines to. I really would have preferred not to.
Were better. The grapes. Was a lot better.
It was a lot better.
The Bible says the grapes the size of watermelons. But ate a grape the size of a watermelon?
I mean, I don't see... So my enjoyment of a grape actually typically comes from it being about that size and being able to pop it in my mouth. I'm not exactly sure, but having a grape the size of a watermelon would benefit me.
This is what the Bible describes as fruit in the promised land.
Okay. Yeah, the land's flowing with milk and honey, which also meant they had a lot of a fly problem, I'm sure.
That's a metaphor. I'm sure you were taught how to.
Oh, I know how to read.
Okay.
I understand. It's a joke.
Oh, okay.
I've made a few of them here. A lot of them have been at my expense.
But yeah, we have to do this again. I gotta run.
That's fair. Well, if you've got to run, I have enjoyed this conversation, even though I'm certain we've largely gotten nowhere. But it has been enjoyable.
All right, if you're listening, I didn't mean to offend you.
Oh, I'm not offended by anything. Like, not in this conversation, at least.
No, I'm talking to AR, man.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, AR. AR wasn't offended, like I said earlier. He was all, he's throwing sodomite jokes at me. Which most people would be offended by that. Somebody's, making jokes to another person who they know is not a sodomite. Advances toward, so yeah, I didn't my computer and start flagging channels and start blocking people and doing all this crazy stuff. It's like, have a conversation. Can we actually have a difference of opinion? Of getting offended. I'm not attacking the person. Ideology. What I do. And that's what Christians do. Christians do not hate anyone. Everyone. All right, because God loves everyone. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for having me. Again, sometime maybe we can talk about the Bible or something that I'm familiar with.
Sure.
Yeah, science is not one of them. I'm not a scientific guy. Well, I'm a Christian.
I've known many a Christian who are a wonderful scientist.
Science was this Western science was built off of the backs of Christian scientists.
Mm-hmm. And I've actually made that point in several of my videos whenever somebody tries to say that religion by its nature is against science or against mathematics, and I've pointed out that there's actually a lot of funding that has come strictly from religious structures that has led to the world of academia we have today.
That's right, yeah. So thanks the God of the Bible for science, atheist. See ya, Cyrus. Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. Well, that was interesting. That was a fun little conversation. Anywho, so there was a reason I saw in the chat that there was a conversation being had about the Sandy Hook thing, and I didn't want to bring that up in here because that's a rabbit hole, and that's a rabbit hole that I have no issue going down, but perhaps for another day. Whew. Anywho, that was an interesting conversation. Very interesting. There is one thing I'd like to go ahead and say no to right as we're ending. So I did make the point that it was the religious organizations that primarily funded a lot of this academia that we have today. But I did not say that religion was the only way that that could happen, nor did I say that it was specifically because of the God of the Bible. It just had to do with they were the institutions that had the money at the time that we were building up academia as we know it today. So I gave my point. Apparently he'd like to take a mile on that. But anywho, how did you guys enjoy that conversation? I know originally we planned on dealing with computing forever, but I'd say this was a little fun. I actually enjoyed this. Poop. I should probably go ahead and get rid of the Discord thing that's sitting here. Where are you? Display capture. Go away. Ocean, that was some fuckery. This was fun. This is actually really fun. Ocean says he has some rants on JiL. I'm fairly certain that you do. Now, I can be remarkably patient. Dude was a horrible person that couldn't have a normal conversation. Fair enough. Summon something jolly. Something jolly. I could probably do that. Give me a second. Would this be considered something jolly? It's my hammer. It works out. But yeah, no, if you guys enjoyed that conversation, definitely consider doing the whole, like, subscribe thing. That's always cool. I mean, I can always do the animation real quick, because those are neat. We also happen to have, if you are subscribed and you want to see episodes whenever they come out, then please make sure to hit the notification bell. That's a very important thing as well, because if you are just browsing YouTube on your phone, it's a lot harder to check your subscriptions. The notification bell helps with that. It puts me in your feed every now and again. So if that's something you want to do, I don't know why I set this to where I have to actually have like Brazz's ass in my face. Not that I mind that, but that's still an interesting place. Funny, he brought up blocking when he's blocking half the internet. Yeah. Oh, also, if you happen to enjoy stuff like this, there's also the option to support on Patreon. That's neat. Wow, that's actually behind the rent goal. That saddens me. I need to fix that. If you hit the subscribe button, it'll unsubscribe you. That's unfortunate. You're right. Way easier on the phone to see subs, is it? I don't know. I typically just look at my front page on my phone, whereas on my computer I have a habit of checking my actual subscriptions. So that's just me. So, but if you guys enjoyed that discussion and would like to see more stuff like that every now and again when the opportunity arises, please press H in the chat. If you guys want to never experience something like that again, G is always the other option. Because I personally enjoyed that. But that's just me. I don't want that to influence any of your decisions. I see that Bionic Dance is largely going for Q and 12 as the options. There are more H's, or there are more G's than I considered there would be. H and G. So yes, you would like to see more, but this was painful. Ocean fuckery. There was a certain level of fuckery. It really was. H, I liked it, but I don't do live streams often, but I'd watch it again. Fair enough. H, can't stay in an echo chamber, but G. Pain is good. Well, I'm glad to know that everybody was definitely masochistic enough to deal with that. So, with that said, I don't think there's really much more we can cover in this episode. I guess I'll have to deal with computing forever for another episode. That'll be for something entirely different later on down the road. Also, thank you very much for the $2, Josiah Hansen. Said more, but naked. Yeah, I'm not going to do the naked thing. Okay, let me see if there's super chats that I haven't gotten through. All right. So, from Sai Srenka, or Senkra. Wow, I'm sorry, Bill Sai. Watching Judge Don't Skip Part 1, I already got to that. For another $2, Kono Dio Da! Sorry, I had to. The NIFB will end for $5. Destroy Jill's terrible argumentation. That's up to you guys to decide if I did that. NIFB, let's see, Sadie79, Cirrus the Destroyer, thank you very much for the $2.79. Jack and Quill, next for the $5. Next time he's being too stupid to handle and won't even listen to argumentation, just become the face. You know, I'm surprised that during that whole thing, I never actually considered to just become... That's not the one. There it is. The rest of the super chats will be read in the face, everybody. Cartoon Contrarian for the $5, because doctors never screw up. I guess they don't need malpractice insurance then. Yeah, fair. Read my audio for $5. So if utilities are gods, you worship your car, fridge, air conditioning, washer, dryer, sink, toilet, and electricity, right? I mean, if utilities are gods, then yeah, I guess that's a really loose definition of worship, but I guess we could go with it if you really want to get like the super idolatry going. The Troudiness for the $1.99, thanks. And then, of course, the Josiah Hansen $2 donation that was more but naked. I also need to check the Streamlabs donations that were sent in through the course of this, because I think there were two that went in. Banana Jr. for $5. A conversation between Cirrus and JiL. I love it. Okay, I think that's the only one that actually came through. Well, that saddens me a little bit. I like super chats, but I largely don't see them until like a month and a half later. Your boredness for the $1.99. I need to actually check this there. Did tip jar empty? Yeet. Wait, is my tip jar empty? I should probably turn that on. It does seem to be a little empty. I should probably also get that a little smaller so that it can be visible as well as the tip jar. That's a thing. That's what they call the toilet a phone. Fair enough. We live in a society where ducks are creatures. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. With that said, since there's really not much more we can cover in this particular conversation, and I do see that we've dropped about like 25% of viewership since the actual conversation began, let's go ahead and end this with a high note. I've enjoyed this. I will probably see some of you guys on Discord. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode since it was a little different than we originally intended. And I'll see you guys later.